I'm looking at the Tarentelle by Burgmuller, and the challenge in this piece is to stay very relaxed through very, very fast tempo. There's so much repetition that in order not to get fatigued and not to get squeezed out of your energy, you have to have an infusion of continuous new energy, and that derives from, in my opinion, the wrist coming underneath. And I'll show you what I mean. In the beginning, you have to roll into a sforzato. So you start with your wrist under so you can go forward into the sforzato. So you have accent, now a new roll, accent. You notice that when I came around down those 5 notes and I had to go back up, I had to do my wrist motion under to get myself that new energy. And that's very important in this piece. It's redundant wrist motion energy that you need to infuse into the piece. Then you have these chords, which I use an elbow out motion because it stops the kind of attack. Now that resolves, that's a dominant, resolves across to the next section, which picks up the groups of 3+3, but a little bit inverted coming down. And so this is a little different mood because it's now P, but you're still going to have this redundancy where you have to have your wrist rolling under to give you the new energy. So under. Then again, and when you have repetition again of a section, you have to do something a little different, or else it's so too predictable. So maybe you can do a little rubato, something just a little more playful. Just ever so tiny bit different. Now this next section is Leggiero, and has a new motion, a new configuration, but you want to now be more whimsical here because it's definitely a different mood. So there's the challenge of the mood swings in this piece, but they're not big mood swings. They're just sort of tempered, but you have to do something different. Variation. Then you're back to that business where you have to roll your wrist forward. Notice I went forward. And of course, when you repeat this section, you want to do something a little different. Back to Now this is a challenging section because this is starkly different than anything else that's happened in this piece. These are just like a bunch of quarter notes with rests in between, and it can get very kind of stodgy and like uninteresting if you just, ba, 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 ba. So you have to have some direction to that. Maybe think sort of like, again, you don't roll your wrist here, but you do think maybe that you start from below and go in terms of the shape of this line, start a little below. Coquettishly, I'd say. Something different the second time. Now you go back to your new section, or your returning section from what was after the introduction. And again, you have to remember the wrist roll so that when you come back down and roll back up, you have enough energy. place. The very end, this little coda is very tricky because it's got to disappear into nothingness, or into the distance actually, and not lose it. I have a very well regulated piano to start with. But you have to have lots of rolling wrist here. Let's start a little bit back from the dipping wrist might not be as, low as in some places, but it's just a little bit. It's a little bit of a dipping wrist in these places at the end. So I played it kind of fast, but when you're really practicing, you should do everything slowly.